So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K25 Next Gen. In today's video, we are back with another episode of our trade deadline rebuilds, and today it's the new look Miami Heat with Andrew Wiggins. As I'm sure you are all aware, the Jimmy Butler era in Miami has officially come to an end. Last week, they traded him to the Golden State Warriors in a blockbuster 4-team deal, and in return, the Miami Heat landed themselves Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, Kyle Anderson, and a future first-round pick. So my thoughts as a whole, we'll discuss a little bit more once we get into the video, but it was time. It was really, really evident that it was time for Jimmy's era in Miami to come to an end. They just could never seemingly hammer out any sort of contract extension. Seemed like Jimmy was causing a whole lot of fuss in that locker room and around the organization as a whole. And honestly, I don't hate this return whatsoever for Miami. So I'll talk about this team and how I think everybody's going to kind of fit together once we get into the video. But this was a blockbuster that I think everybody saw coming, but maybe still surprised quite a few people. We are slowly but surely coming to the end of the trade deadline rebuilds. Never in my life did I think we'd have this many to do, but I still have a few more, at least on my list, to go. If there's anything specific that you guys are really looking to see, make sure to let me know down below in the comment section, along with any other different rebuild challenges, series ideas, whatever it is you guys got for me. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm excited for this one today, man. As you can see, and as I'm sure many of you are aware, I am a Celtics fan, so I will try to keep my biases aside as much as I possibly can, man. But I'm excited for it. Let's get into it. At the time that I am recording this, which is Tuesday afternoon, the Miami Heat currently sit one game under 500 at 25-26. This is not, as things currently stand, a contending team. We've seen the Miami Heat do a lot of crazy things over the past couple years, but if this team somehow sneaks into the playoffs, I don't quite foresee a conference finals or an NBA finals run like they have done in years past. So just putting that out there, that's my current take with this group. Again, they haven't played a lot together so far, so there's a lot of work to do and a lot of things to hammer out just in terms of the roles of everybody. But as I see it right now, this team is going to be heavily defensive oriented. There is not a lot of offensive firepower here, and I think that is certainly something that Pat Riley and the rest of this organization is going to be looking for moving forward, because this cannot be what you lock yourself into for the next 3 to 4 years, which, by the way, I don't think it is going to be whatsoever. I think they're certainly going to be looking at the free agent market in upcoming offseason. So we'll talk about this roster as we always do. As I mentioned, currently one game under 500. It is not the end of the world. In some ways, it has kind of been the season from hell for Miami, and it has almost kind of been a couple seasons from hell for Miami, because it felt like the Miami Heat were in the mix for just so many star players, whether it was Damian Lillard or any of the other star guys that have been traded in recent years, and never ended up really getting any of them. Obviously, Miami was Damian Lillard's preferred destination, and the Bucks shipped him off to Milwaukee. So I understand it from that sense. They're trying. I think Pat Riley could ultimately be doing a little bit of a better job, but I understand it's not easy to complete NBA trades. So I think people just at some point need to kind of grasp and understand that concept. So let's talk about this roster. Let's talk about the good. Tyler Hero has been absolutely fantastic for this season. He is an all-star. He has been the best player on this team so far, in my opinion, and he is going to be one of the guys we are building around today. Of course, only 25 years old still, and an 87 overall already is a really, really positive sign. He is the best offensive player on this team right now. That I have no doubt in my mind. I am excited to see how much better he can get, and I think, again, with him now, really solidifying that number one option offensively, I think he's going to flourish in this role. I really, really do. Davion Mitchell, I thought was actually a nice pickup. Can obviously do some things defensively. He's not super offensively gifted, but 26 years old, he's certainly not a bad backup point guard option at that 75 overall. Now, Alec Burks is here. Kind of torched my Celtics the other night, I'm not going to lie to you. He's a veteran. He's 33 years old. Probably not a 3-year player for us here throughout this rebuild, but he's a good depth piece for now. And again, veteran presence are always really important. Drew Smith and Isaiah Stevens are both two-way. Drew Smith, of course, is hurt right now, and I believe he's actually out for the season. Oh, yeah, he's right there. Numbnuts. So, yeah, we'll figure that out as the video goes on. But again, we don't really do too much with the two-way players. Now, the shooting guard spot. We got to figure this out at some point in time. Looking back on the Terry Rozier trade that they made last season, I believe it was at the deadline, it hasn't really worked out. In this Terry Rozier contract, I don't know how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be in terms of, finding a trade for a bigger name at some point, but Terry Rozier has not been very good for the Heat, and I think that trade ultimately is one that the organization probably regrets. It included a future first-round draft pick that I don't think is necessarily going to kill the Heat, but still a future first-round pick, and we all know how damn good Miami is at developing talent. So him and Duncan Robinson are the exact same age. They are the exact same overall, and I don't really foresee either of them the future of this shooting guard spot. So we'll keep an eye on it moving forward. I'm not saying they're absolute bums, because that's just not the case, but it is certainly a position I'd like to upgrade as this video goes on. Now we head to the small forward spot. Andrew Wiggins, of course, the main piece they got back in the Jimmy Butler deal. All things considered, with how distraught Jimmy was in making it very publicly known that he would rather play pretty much anywhere outside of Miami, Andrew Wiggins is not a bad return. He was such a fundamental piece on that 2022 Warriors team. And again, it's a completely different situation that he's walking into right now. Of course, there's no Steph Curry on the Miami Heat roster, but he's a stout defensive player, and he is somebody that can make an impact in big series. I truly, genuinely believe that. I saw it with my own eyes, and I really do think he's going to be a nice piece moving forward for this team. He's obviously really good defensively, and I think his offensive game is probably not going to get a ton better, but Eric Spoelstra's pretty good at some things, so I'm excited to see what Wiggins can do with Spo and company. Now, Jaime Jaquez Jr. is somebody I was maybe hoping would take a little bit further of a step this season. He's 23 years old. He was obviously an older rookie last season, but just looking at the numbers as a whole, I think there's a little bit more that I'd like to see out of him. I mean, that shooting splits are not necessarily great, especially compared to where they were in his rookie season. But again, I think at only 23 years old, even if he is older for a second-year player, there's still some room to grow there. Haywood Highsmith is 28, 76 overall. Whether he's playing the backup 4, the backup 3, whatever it is, I might be able to get him into the rotation at some point. We'll kind of keep an eye on that, but at this point, he's just kind of another, role player on this team. Pelle Larsson, 23 years old, is obviously in his rookie season, was a second-round pick out of Arizona. I always kind of am not really, super surprised when I see rookies, especially second-round picks, doing well, in the Heat organization. It's one of the things they excel at, and, for him to already be a 74 overall, according to 2K, and again, this isn't an actual metric to measure how well a player actually is, but he's only 23, and I'd like to see him continue to develop, even if we do have a lot of depth here at the small forward spot. Power forward, Bam has been playing some of the 4. He has, and I think it's been a good fit. We obviously all watched him over the summer at the Olympics, playing the 4 next to Anthony Davis, and it was a really fun fit, and I think they did really well together. Obviously, Anthony Davis isn't on this Miami Heat team. I think Bam Adebayo fits perfectly fine at the 4, and if that outside shot could maybe get a little bit more consistent, I would have no problem seeing him run this spot the whole time. He is one of the most versatile defensive players in all of basketball, and I really do love Bam. So, as much as I don't really love the Heat, I love Bam quite a bit. So he's 27, 86 overall. I'd like to see his offensive game maybe be a little bit more consistent. I was going to kind of hope that he could maybe get back to like the 22-23 offensive version of himself. That scoring is a tick down, and hopefully some of those shooting splits come back eventually as well. Now, Kyle Anderson, slow-mo himself, was another piece they got in the Butler deal. He's 31. I'm not really sure how long he's going to be for this team, just again considering the depth that is currently here, but we will keep an eye on it. Nikola Jovic is only 21. I'm hoping he can continue to develop, because I think he could be a key contributor as this video goes on. Keyshawn Johnson here as well. Probably not going to see much of him today. And then finally, the center spot. Khalil Ware has been really good for this team. Maybe one of the only bright spots outside of Tyler Hero. He has been really, really good. I was pretty high on him coming into the draft. Miami drafted him at number 15 overall, and I think he's going to be the future center for this team. I do genuinely believe that. So I'm excited to see how much he can grow and develop for me here today in this 3-year rebuild. As of now, I have no plans of moving him off of being my starting center, so hopefully that overall continues to grow along with his numbers. And then 36-year-old Kevin Love. Probably not too many more years out of Kevin Love in this league. He's a good locker room guy, obviously. Veteran player, has seen a lot of things. Just certainly a spot I'd like to upgrade, at some point in time. So at this point, we are obviously past the trade deadline. There are not going to be any other moves that are being made. We are going to set a 10-man rotation. Again, I know the Miami Heat have a decent amount of depth, and they are likely going to play more than 10 players most games. But here in 2K, it is just the way things are going to kind of work, because it's not really realistic, and I'm sure many of you are aware of that. So 1 game under 500. We'll see if we can sneak into the plan. Let's go ahead and set that rotation. All right, ready to go for the rest of year 1 here in Miami. I have finalized this 10-man rotation, and again, it is here in 2K, the way I think it's going to work best. This is not the way I think the rotation will or is going to work in real life. I just think people sometimes still don't understand that, but that's okay. Here in 2K, here's how it is going to work. Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware. I don't know if there's a lot of surprises in there. I know Terry Rozier may end up coming off the bench permanently moving forward for the Heat, and quite honestly, in real life, I don't know if that's the worst thing out there. So that's how it's going to work here for year 1, at least in 2K. Bench unit will be led by Jaime Jaquez Jr. Is he the best player on this bench? I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, but he's young enough to the point where I want him playing the most minutes and developing as much as possible. Duncan Robinson, the backup 2 behind him. I think his shooting is going to be important. You got Jovic playing the backup 4. Davion Mitchell, the backup point guard behind Hero. And then finally, Kevin Love. Unk over here is going to be the backup center behind Ware. And yeah, that's probably going to be a 1-year fit. So I don't have a spot for Kyle Anderson right now or Alec Burks or Larson. I just think at some point there's maybe a move out there that could get a couple of these guys into the rotation. But here in an unrealistic rebuild, in an unrealistic world with no injuries on, I don't need more than 10 guys playing. I never have, and I probably never will. So I don't know if this team sneaks into the plan. It's certainly possible. You know, anything really can happen here in 2K, but I don't really see this being a super successful first season. So I'm just looking forward to the offseason. When this video started out, we were 1 game under 500, and we ended the year exactly 500. So I guess you could call that progress if that's really how you want to look at it. 41-41. Not exactly great. It's pretty much the worst spot to be in the league, in my opinion, when you are, you know, a middle-of-the-pack team that, you know, in most situations you'd say has no chance of winning anything. Of course, in previous years, as an 8 seed, the Miami Heat did something pretty special. But here in this scenario right now, I don't really think we're in a great spot as of now. SGA is your MVP. Certainly something that's a possibility in real life. You got Sarr winning Rookie of the Year. Naz Reid takes home 6th man. Wemby wins Depoy. Thompson Most Improved. Jokic Clutch Player of the Year. Mark Daigneault over there in Oklahoma City is your Coach of the Year. So given how bad the East is, I wouldn't be surprised if we snuck in, you know, to the playoffs. 1 game, or pretty much tied with the 5 seed, which is so insane just to look at the state of this conference. But there's a possibility we are going to be in the playoffs. And yeah, kind of crazy, not going to lie to you. Let's talk about some of the numbers, which are going to be a bit skewed. Obviously, this is going to bring over Andrew Wiggins' numbers from his time with the Golden State Warriors, and obviously things are looking a little bit different right now. So take all of these, you know, what you're seeing here with a grain of salt. I think there is something that, you know, to take from it, just not a huge kind of bigger picture kind of thing, because I have some plans in my head. But we have to get through the playoffs first. If we are in it, we are battling with Detroit here. We win this, we are the 7 seed. This Detroit team has been a nice surprise this season, certainly a lot better than last year. We end up winning, and we are taking on Cleveland in round 1. The Cavs have been fantastic this season. Have been one of the best teams in the league, and this team has, you know, been really good. There's not really many other ways to say it. They are going to be a really, really serious contender here in the Eastern Conference as we get to the playoffs. But as of now, we're getting our ass kicked. We do win game 4 at home, and then we end up losing in 5. Not the end of the world, not super surprising, is what it is. I will take a look at the playoffs numbers, just want to see what ended up happening here. Not a great series out of Tyler Hero. Was hoping for a little bit more considering where he was at in terms of point per game throughout the regular season. Not terrible from Bam. Terry Rozier actually stepped up a bit. I mean, those, oh my God, 34% from the field. That's bad. Wiggins is in here. Robinson, Ware. It is what it is. All right, I'm very much looking forward to this offseason. I think there's going to be a lot of big factors and a lot of big moves that we could possibly make. You got Julius Randle and the Timberwolves up against Tatum and the Celtics. Celtics go back-to-back, JT Finals MVP. Okay, let's take a look at this. Do we have any players that are retiring? I was assuming I was going to potentially see Kevin Love here, but it does not appear that is the case. LeBron, CP3, and Russ all entering the Hall of Fame. You got the draft lottery, which I believe our first-round pick is technically top 14 protected. Of course, we made the playoffs, so it does not really matter. And if I am correct, where's our pick? Yes. Wait, what? Oh, that's via the Warriors. Okay, that's what we're supposed to have. Where's our pick? Okay, the Thunder have it. That's correct. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm misreading things. We're obviously hanging on to Spoelstra. Let's approach the NBA draft. That Warriors pick that the Miami Heat got in the deal for Jimmy Butler, it is top 10 protected in 25, which is this draft. It is also top 10 protected in 26, and then it goes to unprotected in 27. Obviously, it landed at 21 or whatever it was, so we will get that pick this year, which is good news because the Heat, if they make the playoffs, will definitely not have their pick. So 21st overall selection. We obviously don't have a ton of future assets in the draft department to work with, so we got to be somewhat careful, but I am going to draft somebody at 21, whether they are an impact player or whether they get traded immediately is still certainly up in the air. I feel like I've drafted Hugo Gonzalez in the past and had some success. And that's also a position of need. I'm not saying Hugo Gonzalez is going to start for us or anything moving forward, but I actually think that's probably the best pick we can make there. So welcome to the team. Going to come in at a 73 overall. Jaquez and Jovic both will certainly be brought back, two of the nice young players on this team. I am probably not going to qualify anybody. Davion Mitchell, I'd like to maybe bring back, but not for an $8 million price tag. And as we approach free agency here, we don't have many major names, nor do we really have any money to spend. So the trade market is definitely going to be our friend, and hopefully we do a little bit better than Pat Riley has. We're going to talk to another Florida team here in the Orlando Magic and see if there's any way for us to maybe add Jalen Suggs to this team. Ultimately, I think this backcourt especially could use a bit more defense, whether I'm playing Suggs at the 1 or whether I move, Tyler Hero back to the 2. That's still up in the air, but I think it'd be a fine fit. And considering what we're offering and, at least giving up at the moment, I would not hate this deal whatsoever. So they want, they want Kevin Love and a future second, and they'll also throw in KCP. It's fine with me. All right, I'm excited to have Jalen Suggs here. I think it makes some sense to move Hero back to maybe his natural position at shooting guard anyways, and I think that's going to be a big benefit towards us, especially just the defense that Jalen Suggs can provide. So I don't love the contracts of KCP and Robinson. I think I do want to see, 19-year-old Hugo Gonzalez get the minutes behind Hero. So they both also could certainly be trade pieces. The thing about, a specific rebuild like the one we're doing right now is no disrespect to Wiggins, but 9 times out of 10, I'm probably looking to upgrade this small forward spot, but this is technically the Andrew Wiggins Miami Heat rebuild. So he's going to stay in the starting lineup, which means we could be a little bit flexible at other positions, but I do think I want to keep this starting 5 intact heading into year number 2. So we might just have some more minor trades for this bench unit. We're making a trade here with the Chicago Bulls. It is a 1-for-1 swap, Duncan Robinson for Jalen Smith. Now, I'm not going to sit here and get into a pissing contest about who's the better overall basketball player. This is a trade for a couple different reasons, but it's obviously first and foremost a trade for positional needs. We obviously are in need of a backup center, and getting one here on a multi-year deal in Jalen Smith, who's 6 years younger than Robinson, a similar overall, and making about $10 million less annually, feels like a really big home run. Duncan Robinson was expiring after this year. Not that I was likely interested in bringing him back, but I think Jalen Smith will be a nice addition behind Ware. Most of the time, I hate 2K's trade logic. In situations like this, I absolutely love it, because for whatever reason, the tanking, rebuilding Utah Jazz are willing to give me 2 future first-round picks for 32-year-old Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who actually has a $21.5 million player option after this season. So we're going to move on from him. There ultimately wasn't a serious need for him on this roster. We drafted Hugo Gonzalez, and I want to play the young kid. And moving on and acquiring draft assets that we are currently pretty low on in that department, I think is a really big win here for us. So that's actually Utah's unprotected pick in 27, which feels pretty insane. So we are going to consider some different... Ooh, is this... AJ Mitchell's? What the hell? He got released. All right, well, I'll certainly take a flyer on him. All right, that's fine by me. Could have maybe opted to bring back Davion Mitchell, but just from, a potential standpoint, I think there's a little bit more there with Mitchell. So at this point, we are pretty much finalized a 10-man rotation. Now, I will say the one unfortunate thing, an issue we might run into is the fact that Larson doesn't really have a spot with this team as of now. I mean, there's just 2 guys ahead of him that are both better. And it's kind of unfortunate because I think that overall will go up, but we'll keep an eye on him. Of course, has a team option after this year, and we're pretty much set everywhere else. So I'll just see you guys at the start of year number 2. It is year 2 for us here in Miami. We have a really talented defensive starting 5, especially. The offense may scare me a bit, but of course, with the Andrew Wiggins trade, the Miami Heat, as things currently stand, are super defensive oriented. Maybe not in the backcourt, but you understand my point. Obviously, bringing in Jalen Suggs is a huge addition and a huge upgrade over Terry Rozier. I think he's going to be a seamless fit with this group, and hopefully he can contribute offensively. I'm excited. It is year 2 for us here. Obviously, our first season as a whole. We obviously started midway last year, and I'm excited to see what can happen. So Jalen Suggs, Tyler Hero, that is our new backcourt. Wiggins remains at the 3. The funny thing is, if I auto-set this, even though the minutes don't show it, it actually suggests I start Jaime Jaquez Jr. And I'm not going to do that. This is Andrew Wiggins' rebuild, and I do think he's still a better player, but 2K logic. Bam still here at the 4, and then finally Khalil Ware is still our starting center. Hopefully that overall continues to climb. Bench unit, I will say, is better than last year. Jaquez is up to an 80. He'll remain our 6-man. Of course, brought in AJ Mitchell, who was released, seemingly, from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know. Jalen Smith, who we acquired 1-for-1 swap with Duncan Robinson. He'll be our backup center. Nikola Jovic remains the backup power forward, and then Hugo Gonzalez is the backup shooting guard. So, as I mentioned, unfortunately, Larson's just not really going to have a role with this team. He'll be the 11th guy. If somebody fouls out, maybe there's a situation that requires his services, he'll be in there, but as of now, he is not getting consistent rotation minutes. So, I'm excited. I think this should be a playoff team once again. Hopefully not a play-in team. I'd like to at least be a top 6 seed, hopefully closer to the top 4. But we'll find out together at the end of year number 2. We had a really solid second season here in Miami. Finished with a record of 53-29, and at this point, I think this team may be a serious threat here in the Eastern Conference. Now, SGA goes back-to-back in the MVP department. Cooper Flagg ended up in Sacramento. How the hell did he end up in Sacramento? How'd they have the second overall pick? I don't know. Dylan Harper is a Chicago Bull, and for whatever reason, they refuse to start their third overall pick. How stupid can one franchise be? Victor Wembanyama wins another DPOY. Jarris Walker, most improved. Luka, oh my God, I'm still never going to get used to it. And Jason Kidd over there in Dallas. They won 58 games even without Luka. I guess that healthy Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving duo is pretty talented. It is time for the standings. We're the 1 seed. 53 wins takes the Eastern Conference in terms of the regular season, and I'm fine with that. I'm excited with where we're at as of now. I think, again, I'm a little nervous still for the playoffs, but we'll figure it out. And then here's a look at the West. We were tied for the second best record in basketball. So the numbers across the board. Let's see how everything looked. Tyler Hero led us in the scoring department. No surprise there. Bam Adebayo, 18 points a game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Not bad. But Jalen Suggs, Andrew Wiggins, Khalil Ware, you got AJ Mitchell, Jaime Jaquez, Smith, Gonzalez, and then Jovic. Now the rebounding department was Bam, and assists was 0. So first round, as the 1 seed, we will be taking on, oh great, the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh boy. Ew. Don't do that. Ugh. This Milwaukee team, looks a little different. I don't know where the hell Kyle Kuzma went. The roster is updated, and they don't even have Malik Monk starting. But, yeah, this is interesting. Gary Payton? Really? Okay. They're good, especially for a playing team. There's no denying that. Hopefully they don't get revenge for a couple years ago. Miami was the 8 seed. They beat the 1 seed Bucks in round 1, and no, they do not. Moving on, it is the Eastern Conference semifinals. It is us and the New York Knicks, another team here in the East that is really good, even if they had a somewhat lackluster regular season. This is going to be a challenge. There's no doubt about that in my mind. We split the first 2 at home, lose Game 3 at MSG, do win Game 4 and 5, and we win the series in 6. And we are taking on the 6-seeded Indiana Pacers, who have made an Eastern Conference Finals run, have not made many major changes to this group whatsoever. They're still really good offensively. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Not great. Not great. Fuck. Oh my God. Hey, we reversed Celtics on them. You know what I'm saying? Celtics came back from being down 3-0 just to lose Game 7 at home. Remember that? Anybody? Ring a bell? I don't know. That sucks. That really, really sucks. It would have been fun. All right. So we get to the Eastern Conference Finals in our second year. After being a play-in team, it's not necessarily the worst case scenario, the worst ending. Pacers do end up winning it all, and Halliburton is your finals MVP. I have to decide if this, whole team, collectively is good enough, or is there another move out there that could maybe upgrade this team a little bit more? I honestly don't know the answer to that question right now. We will certainly look at all of our options, but I'm definitely not going to force the issue because I do think another year of development for some of our younger guys would be beneficial. So we have the 28th overall pick, not going, doing anything drastic. We're not firing Eric Spoelstra. Let's approach the draft and just see what we are working with here. Any other picks I missed? No, but we do have some tradable assets now, which is definitely nice. I'll draft somebody at 28. Again, probably not going to be a superstar. May not even. Oh, Caden Boozer. Sure. Welcome to the team. All right, he's going to be a 73 overall. Team player options, yes, going to bring back Wiggins. This is his rebuild, obviously. Qualifying offers, Jovic and Mitchell are 2 players I'd certainly like to extend. And in a star-studded free agency, we, of course, do not really have the money right now to go out and get anybody. So Mitchell, we're not going to have bird rights on, but we have his qualifying offer, which, according to 2K anyways, means we can match whatever we want, even without the bird rights. So Jovic will be back. AJ Mitchell is still going to remain as my backup point guard. I think he's going to continue to develop super well. So Boozer could be in a bigger trade. I just haven't quite settled on what that is yet. Oh, wow. I did not think that was going to go through, but we pulled off a big one here with the Dallas Mavericks. All right, it was a lot to give up. It was Jalen Smith, Caden Boozer, Larson, and then like 3 future first-round picks, including the Jazz first next year, which was really valuable because, they suck and it's unprotected. But we got Derek Lively and Samuel Jackson, whoever the hell that is, in return. Ultimately, it came down to this. I felt there was one more upgrade needed, with this starting 5. And with this kind of being Andrew Wiggins' rebuild, technically, I didn't really want to put him out, of the starting 5. So there's nothing wrong with Ware. I think he's going to continue to develop well. I know him and Lively are the same age, but at this point, I just still take Lively just a little bit over him. And again, I think Lively's overall will continue to go up as well. So, that's the upgrade we ended up making there. We hung on to pretty much every other rotation piece, and we got Samuel Jackson in the process. So, we're obviously going to wait on AJ Mitchell, or at least I will, and then I'll just see you guys at the start of the final regular season. Final season for us here in Miami. Last year was pretty good. It was certainly a big step in the right direction. We ended up winning 53 games. We won the Eastern Conference, well, at least in the regular season. Made it all the way to the conference finals, then lost in 7 games after being down 3-0 to the eventual champion Pacers. So this offseason, we made an upgrade. Obviously, bringing in Derek Lively, I think, is going to really affect not only this team defensively, just the depth that we now have working in terms of the whole 10-man rotation. So that's the only change in the starting 5. Backcourt remains Jalen Suggs and Tyler Hero. Still got Wiggins here at the small forward spot. As you can see now, if you look at his suggested minutes, suggests I start Jaquez. It's his rebuild. I'm not going to go ahead and, do that, even, if I think it could be beneficial, but it's his rebuild. Bam remains the 4, and then obviously the addition of Derek Lively, who has gone up in the overall department. So, nothing wrong with Ware. I think it is just a nice little upgrade here, and that's how it's going to work out. AJ Mitchell actually accepted his qualifying offer. He got no long-term deals from anybody, and so he has developed all the way up to an 82 overall, and he'll take over 6-man responsibilities. Ware going to be the backup 5 right behind him. You got Jaquez, who has slid down a bit in the rotation. Not really the end of the world. Kind of just is what it is. You get better players, better depth. Guys tend to fall. Jovic remains the backup power forward spot, and still got our boy Hugo Gonzalez, who of course we drafted in the first offseason. So this is where we're at. I think this is easily the best team we've had so far throughout this rebuild, and very much likely our best shot at a championship. I'll see you guys at the end of the final regular season. Really solid year 3 for us here in Miami. Easily our best record yet at 68-14, and hopefully in the driver's seat to win a championship. Nikola Jokic, MVP. Liam McNeely, he's in Oklahoma City, wins Rookie of the Year. Gordon Mean, 6-man, he is in Charlotte. You got Wemby winning Depoy. Ace Bailey, Most Improved. Cade Cunningham, Clutch Player of the Year. And our guy, our head man, Mr. Eric Spoelstra, taking home Coach of the Year. All right, it is the last shot for us to win a championship here. We were, oh my fuck. This is not a real conference, right? 20 games up. Oh, Lord. All right, it is the best record in the league as well, which is fantastic news. Looks like the scoring has spread out a bit, which I don't necessarily mind. You guys are probably very well versed in my philosophies, but as long as we're winning games, I don't really give a shit who does what. All right, it is time for the first round of the playoffs. We're taking on the Charlotte Hornets, who are a young, up-and-coming team. Have made some additions here with Quentin Grimes. You got Bobby Portis, of course, to me. Salon, you got Nick Smith still here, so I'm excited. I think we're clearly the better team. Maybe they have the best player in the series with LaMelo, but we are definitely more well-balanced. We sweep them. Now we're moving on to the Wizards. Okay. Yeah, I don't... Well, that went 7. That makes me nervous. And I certainly will not be disrespecting the 6-seed Indiana Pacers, who were also a 6-seed last year and ended up, breaking our hearts in a 7-game series. So they're a good team. Obviously, a very well-oiled machine offensively, and we're looking for some revenge right now. Quick, fast start for us. We sweep them out of their own building, and we're taking on, well, not great, Cooper Flagg and the Sacramento Kings here in the NBA Finals. So, obviously, De'Aaron Fox no longer a member of the Kings in real life. This is a team that has redefined itself and really made a lot of major changes. You got Ty Jerome as the starting point guard, added Jaden Ivey somehow. Of course, they drafted Flagg. Jake LaRavia now in the starting 5. They got a nice veteran 6-man here in Middleton, Devin Carter, Providence, Isaac Okoro, James Wiseman. All right, I think we're better. I do. I'm not going to lie to you. We're up 2-1 at the moment. Make that 3-1 and make that back to Miami to hopefully close them out on our home floor and get that championship here in our final season. Currently blowing them out. Really, really good game for us so far. And looks like we're going to be getting a championship. So I'll see you guys in there. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about this Miami Heat team. We've obviously gone over a lot of my thoughts here, with this current group and what I think they're going to excel at and some of the things I still think they're maybe a little deficient at. I think, again, they need a franchise player, moving forward. And I'm not taking that, I'm not sending that as a shot at Bam Adebayo or Tyler Hero. But ultimately, I think we can all kind of accept reality that they're probably not a number 1 option on a championship team, even in a weaker Eastern Conference. So I know Miami is unbelievably good at developing talent, and I think, again, Tyler Hero is going to continue to flourish offensively, and hopefully Bam can get back to similar numbers from what he was putting up a few seasons ago. But I really think they're looking for that superstar, and I think eventually they're going to find it. Believe it or not, at one point, Miami was a team that got a lot of big free agents, and it feels like they've kind of missed on that in recent years. I think obviously the Jimmy Butler edition back in 2019 was really, really big, and he did a lot of really good things for that franchise. But I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Pat Riley, and I don't think many people were, that it was probably time to move on from Jimmy Butler. I don't like the money that the Warriors gave him. I understand, they're in a pretty rare situation where they're trying to maximize and continue to build on Steph Curry's window, and that's probably the main reason they were willing to give Jimmy that contract. But $111 million over the next 2 seasons after this, I don't really think that's a smart investment for Miami, because that locks you into basically the core you have. Again, anything's possible. We've obviously seen it before, but I just didn't see a chance for that core anyways to win a championship together. So maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe it's possible. Maybe Steph and Jimmy go out and do some crazy things together, but Steph Curry wasn't in Miami. And whether you want to accept that or not, it's the truth, and it's the situation they found themselves in. So I'm excited for the Heat. As much as I am not a very big fan of the Miami Heat, I certainly respect the effing hell out of them, and I think they're going to be fun, a couple years down the line. As long as they got Hero and Bam as that 1-2 punch, and hopefully again bring in that superstar at one point, I think they'll be really good. So that's going to do it for us. We're going to be getting a championship here. We end up blowing out the Sacramento Kings in Game 5 on our home floor and capturing the championship that we have been looking for this entire rebuild. Bam Adebayo going to end up as Finals MVP. All right, man, that is going to do it. I know I talked a decent amount about my thoughts on this Miami team, and obviously their rebuild over the next, not rebuild, but their moves over the next 2 to 3 years are not going to look anything like what we saw today, and that's kind of the point. It's an unrealistic rebuild. So, just a few more of my thoughts. I understand that, given where the new CBA is at, and, obviously the teams that drafted players are obviously eligible to give them more money under most circumstances, as superstars. It's really tough to find, a franchise-altering superstar in free agency. That just doesn't really happen a ton these days, right? Like, we think back to what Kevin Durant did on July 4th, 2016, and signed with the Golden State Warriors. And it is now basically the Kevin Durant rule that is in effect, that the team that drafted the player, if they are, All-NBA, MVP, any of those things, they can basically offer them a supermax. And obviously, Miami will not be able to do that with any of the star free agents if they were to get there. So I'm not necessarily fully, of the belief that that's going to be the route they go. I think they'll continue to kind of work the trade market for when players get disgruntled and are looking for new homes. But Miami is obviously a fantastic place to play basketball. Beautiful weather, awesome city. And I really do think that they'll get, some sort of star in the next 3 to 4 years. So I fully believe that. I think this is a team that obviously is going to have a strong defensive identity moving forward, into the rest of this season and next year as a whole. They're not quite contending, and I think that obviously is the opinion of many, many people. So I'll be interested to keep, see how it goes. Hopefully that fun Celtics Heat, rivalry can come back, because genuinely I believe it was one of the only true rivalries left in basketball. I mean, those teams, thinking back to those conference finals, they really fucking hated each other. I really genuinely believe that. So, all right, man, that's going to do it for me, Miami Heat fans. I hope I did you proud. I know you probably don't love Celtics fans, and, well, I don't fucking like you either. So, that's going to do it for me, man. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.